Question. How do you stage a battle scene that features three aggressors who have never been pitted against each other on film before? Well, if you're the team at Game of Thrones, you're in luck, because although there is no one battle that's configured quite like the Loot Train attack from this Sunday, that's a ridiculous name, film and TV history is full of creative ways to tackle each one individually. All you have to figure out is how to fuse them together into one giant Frankenstein monster battle. Now that's a fucking name. In fact, all cinematic battles work this way, like a great oral tradition that continually builds on and reconfigures what came before. The DNA of one battle lives on in the battles that follow, and you can see that DNA everywhere in the Loot Train attack. So much so that I think you could essentially reconstruct the sequence with other movies. What? Listen.
Earthquake.
I love that this battle starts with the thunder of Dothraki horses arriving before they do. You can find that same effect in both 300 and Troy. In Lord of the Rings Return of the King, you have a similar situation where the orcs, like the Lannisters, have to reform ranks at a moment's notice to face an enemy that's just about to appear over the ridge. The Dothraki are based on a combination of horse-riding tribes like the Mongols or the Huns, so you can look at movies like the 2007 Russian film Mongol to find battle cries and weapons just like these. But the Dothraki are also based on Native Americans, so it makes sense that Matt Shakman, the director of this episode, would cite the classic John Ford film Stagecoach as an inspiration for this scene. And clearly the landscape is nodding to Monument Valley in Utah and Arizona, where Ford set many of his famous westerns. And you do have a few shots that are completely unique. Now, when it comes to fire-breathing dragons, you have plenty to choose from in film history. You've got the Hungarian Horntail from Harry Potter, you've got Vermithrax Pejorative from Dragon Slayer, who rose some people of his own, you've got the dragon from Aragon, and of course you have Smaug. All of these no doubt influence the depictions of Drogon in this scene, but I think there's a few other sources that have an even greater influence here. In terms of the devastation that Drogon visits on the battlefield, the clearest analog I can see is the helicopter and napalm attacks from Apocalypse Now. In fact, in The Hollywood Reporter, Shakman cites this as another inspiration, and some of the shots are uncannily similar. I mean, this is just a beautiful mix of practical and digital effects. And it's not only the napalm. The point of view shots of Daenerys on Drogon's back are a lot like the POV shots from the helicopters in this scene from Apocalypse. On the ground, you'll find some similarities to the first scene in Gladiator, where the Romans rain down fireballs and fire arrows on the Germanic tribes. Ridley Scott does a great job of depicting the chaos of a battlefield on fire. Of course, Shakman and crew can't resist adding their own flair here as well, with a few soldiers literally roasting in their armor. Game of Thrones isn't just citing from other properties, it cites from itself too. Though this wonderful handheld long shot featuring Bronn making his way across the battlefield resembles the Lubezki camera work in The Revenant and even Children of Men, I think the real touchstone is this long shot from the Battle of the Bastards last season. Director Miguel Sapochnik crafted one of the best sequences in the history of war cinematography, and it's certainly worth drawing from. The last thing that Shakman cites explicitly is Saving Private Ryan, no doubt an inspiration for any war filmmaker these days. Here, Thrones mimics that effect when the real sound fades out and we focus in on the shock of the commander as he surveys the field of carnage. Finally, the ending of the scene plays out like the end of the fight against Smaug in The Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies, when the dragon goes up against a man with a giant arrow and gets wounded. As you can see, in filmmaking like this, there's barely anything that's new. But the team at Game of Thrones, from the director on down, did a wonderful job of combining multiple sources to make a battle that's tense, intelligible, and more than the sum of its parts. For those who ever want to compose a cinematic battle of their own, this is how you do it. War cinematography is like language. Most of the words have been used before. That doesn't mean that something new can't be written. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited that Game of Thrones is finally back, and I forgot how much I appreciated watching a show that's not bingeable. It's so nice like getting together with friends every week, don't get to do that much anymore, and I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, this episode was brought to you by Squarespace. If you want to make a website and you want it to be a really easy process, Squarespace has some beautiful award-winning designer templates to choose from that makes the process so simple. It's got 24-hour customer service, no upgrades, nothing to install, no patches ever, and picking your domain name is really easy. You can start your free trial at squarespace.com, and if you use the offer code NERDWRITER, you can get 10% off your first purchase. Enjoy Game of Thrones, guys, while it lasts, and I'll see you next week.